is known to include arsenic, asbestos, polychlorinated biphenyls, arsenic, and volatile organic chemicals. Additionally, the DELCORA industrial incinerator releases volatile organic compounds into the local and regional air as it burns industrial waste, in addition to nitrous oxides, of which it is a significant polluter. The water quality of the Delaware River has seen extremely important gains recently for reasons that include the hard work of many organizations and people, and also including a hard-won legal settlement in which DELCORA was forced to pay fines and implement improvements to prevent waste overflow that included untreated sewage that was going into the river during times of flooding. Such improvements to water resources provide us with drinkable water and protect the environment of innumerable birds, fish, and marine creatures, and show us that regulating pollution and effective pollution control matters enormously and can be effective. But we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that right now the air quality in this part of Delaware County is among the worst in the entire country. As evidence of this, the area fails the EPA's standard for ground level ozone, which is a known cause of respiratory inflammation and disease. A study by Johns Hopkins researchers that was published just this spring found that there are over 30 different volatile organic chemicals in the air in the Delaware Riverfront Strip where the DELCORA facility is located. Many VOCs, like benzene, toluene, and formaldehyde, are known and well established to be carcinogens. We also know that Chester lies at the epicenter of one of the most prominent environmental justice regions in the country. The health of this population suffers due to the extraordinarily heavy burden of pollution that its residents experience, including extremely elevated rates of asthma on the order of 4 times the national average for children, and cancer. The pollutants that are in the air and that are being compounded from multiple major polluters, from chemical plants like PQ and Evonik, to the largest trash incinerator in the US, to DELCORA's incinerator, to the Monroe refinery and the Marcus Hook liquid natural gas liquids refinery, all accumulates together and creates an extraordinary burden on the population. So one of the things that I've been looking at are trying to make sense of the cancer rates. And if you take all of southeastern Delaware County together, Tinicum, Eddystone, Chester, Traynor, and Marcus Hook, and you take the average annual accrued cancer incident rate for adults over 20 years of age for a 20-year period of time from 2002 to 2021, we have 79% higher than the Pennsylvania average for liver and bile cancer, 71% higher than the Pennsylvania average for laryngeal cancer, 40% higher than the Pennsylvania average for Hodgkin lymphoma, and 30% higher for lung and bronchial cancer. Among children, I'm wrapping up, among children, the average annual accrued cancer incidence rate for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, kidney and renal cancer, and liver and bile range between 24% higher and 136% higher than the comparable rate for Pennsylvania children in the state as a whole. So to protect the public health of residents of Chester and southeastern Delaware County and this region, in light of past and current failures to do so, the only reasonable pollution control technologies for the DEP to adopt are the best available ones. We need to consider the fact that we are talking about a region which is bearing the cumulative burden of so many different facilities. We can't just look at one facility alone, and we need to consider the fact that all of these facilities combine together to affect the population and their health. Adequate monitoring of air and water quality, including introducing rigorous monitoring for VOCs, is absolutely imperative moving forward. Thank you for your consideration.
Next we have Alyssa Felix Ariola.
Good evening. My name is Elisa Felix, and I'm here on behalf of the Clean Air Council. The Council is a nonprofit environmental organization that has been working to protect everyone's right to a healthy environment for over 50 years. And Clean Air Council has over 5,000 members, including many residents from Chester. DELCORA has operated a massive sewage and industrial waste incinerator in Chester, PA for over 50 years. Industrial incinerators burn waste and release potential harmful pollution, including volatile organic compounds, into the local and regional airshed. VOCs could lead to increased smog formation as well as increased air toxic pollutions, including known carcinogens in this already overburdened environmental justice community. DELCORA currently processes 40 million gallons of wastewater per day, and this waste stream includes landfill water and other industrial wastewaters. VOCs evaporate off wastewater at every stage of the storage and treatment process. DEP and DELCORA claim VOC emissions at the facility are below major source threshold of 50 tons per year, yet neither DEP nor DELCORA conduct actual VOC air monitoring at this facility, so we simply don't know. What we do know is that air quality in Delaware County is among some of the worst in the country. Both Delaware County and the entire 5-county Southeast Pennsylvania region significantly fail the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's 2015 standard for ground level ozone, commonly known as smog. We also know that Chester is a state-designated environmental justice area where many residents are suffering from health issues related to pollution exposure. Despite significant air quality and environmental health concerns in Chester and neighboring communities, neither DELCORA nor DEP are proposing to make any changes to improve pollution controls as part of this review. This is unacceptable. DEP should not simply accept DELCORA's word that VOC air pollution levels are below major source thresholds without further testing. DEP should require DELCORA to conduct VOC air monitoring in and around DELCORA's facility, and there are many available technologies to do so, including gas chromatography, mass spectrometry. DEP should require DELCORA to pursue these best available control technologies to improve air quality, and DEP should also publicly disclose the VOC air monitoring data it collects and its monitoring station in Chester. Chester residents deserve to know if current VOC control technologies are working at this facility. Because current conditions at DELCORA facility are concerning, in its last monitoring period, DELCORA discharged water into the Delaware River that contained levels of fecal coliform more than 6,000% above its permitted limit. Pollution control technologies at DELCORA wastewater incinerator are clearly not working. Extremely high fecal coliform levels in DELCORA's post-treatment waste stream could cause significant VOC air pollution. This is made worse by DELCORA's processing in industrial wastewater at this facility, including landfill leachate, which can include significant and variable VOC concentrations. Unfortunately, all of DEP and DELCORA's VOC pollution estimates are based off of infrequent tests of facilities' wastewater and measurements of how much wastewater facility processes. The combination of DELCORA's diverse industrial waste stream and the variability of contaminants in the sewage stream should require consistent monitoring of VOC air pollutions at this facility. There are available technologies to monitor VOC air pollution at this facility. Clean Air Council urges DEP to require DELCORA to pursue the best available control technologies to improve air quality and public health in this already overburdened environmental justice community.
Next, we have Mr. Simpson.
My name is Seifuddin, S-E-I-F-U-D-D-I-N, middle initial M, middle initial A, Simpson, S-I-M-P-S-O-N. I live at 1030 Potter Street, Chester, Pennsylvania. I'm a returning citizen, a person spent over 20 years in prison. Fortunately, while in prison, I was able to go to college at Montgomery County Community College, Villanova, and after that, Springfield for my master's degree. All my college sciences are environmental biology. I'm kind of like very displeased at the turnout today. I think that our community is much unaware of what's going on with them in reference to our environment. I've been told, I'm not sure how accurate it is, that approximately 80% of the children in Chester have asthma. I'm not sure how accurate that is. I believe the air quality in Chester is poor, but I applaud DELCORA because I use their services and I'm not dissatisfied. I think we're in between a rock and a hard place where a company comes in and offers people's jobs, people like me that might be returning from prison or coming out of a rehab, coming out of divorce, those type of situations, it's like you need a income in order to support your family. You may not be aware of, when you go to work, what the air is doing to you or what the chemicals floating around are doing to you, but you know that you're able to feed your baby Similac. I'm hoping tonight that I'm able to stimulate some agencies and some people to get the children and the youth involved more with what's going on in our community. I'm not sure whether the school's notified. I'm not sure whether people in the community have received flyers at their homes or nursing homes, wherever they may be located. But I think the word has to get out some kind of way more, because I think that it's very important that we're aware of the water that we drink and that the air that we breathe. So I'm looking forward to trying to be a community activist in that sense, and I'm looking forward to receiving assistance from anybody that's willing to help me or others that have the same type of focus that I have. And I also have a very, very serious concern about the prisoners that are in their state prison, because I believe that they're captive. I believe that they have no other choice but to drink the water that's there and breathe the air that's there. And unless there's a serious filtering system outside or inside that prison, I don't know what kind of chemicals they're breathing or what kind of air they're breathing, but I know that they're trapped and they have no other choice. So I would like to have somebody investigate that has the resources and the potential and the ability and the connections to get inside there and see what's going inside there, because they're almost like trapped like rats. You know what I mean? They don't have no other choice. So that's some of my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Christopher Pratt. Do you want me to come back to you a little later? Yeah, probably. Sure. Mr. Stein.
Thank you. My name is Fred Stein. I'm with the Delaware Riverkeeper Network, and I'm going to flip around a little bit. So the Delaware Riverkeeper Network is a nonprofit environmental advocacy organization that focuses on the entire Delaware River watershed, which of course includes the city of Chester and all the inputs from the industries and in water and air here. We represent about 28,000 members, many of them in the Marcus Hook, Chester area. In the permit application, in the application that DELCORA is submitting, it says DEP will require that the facility to use control technologies that don't require the industry to use the control technologies that are too costly or not technically practical. And my question is how is that determined? How is the total and cumulative impacts on the water quality, the air quality, and the quality of life in these communities? How is that determined that this polluter will only be required to utilize the control technology that they feel is appropriate, that's technically practicable, and that is within their cost? Why aren't they being pushed to use the best available technology? Is my one question. So I'm hoping that I know the DEP needs to respond to all of these questions here. So any questions we ask, DEP will respond to. According to the application, DELCORA says no new certain sources of air pollution controls were proposed through the permitting action, but none were reduced either, and that's a crime right here. We need DEP to reduce, or I'm sorry, DELCORA to reduce the amount of pollutants going into the air and the water. No emissions increases were included, but no reductions are either. DELCORA is the only major. The other point that DELCORA makes in the application is DELCORA is the only major is only a major polluter of NOx, and therefore DELCORA does not proposes that good combustion practices and proper incinerator operation constitutes RACT for the sewage sludge incinerators. This appears to be doing the very minimum amount that DELCORA can get away with, and DEP is allowing that to happen. This does not seem right. This is the most minimal amount of effort that's required. They should be required to be to have to do the best available technology to continue to move forward, not only for the community, the residents, but also for the Delaware River that provides drinking water for millions of people. The other concern that we have is, and a failure, I believe, on DEP's part, is that they are putting out this information like this application and claiming that it's plain language, and it's anything but plain language. It must be made more simplistic. It must be reviewed by the layperson out there and not just the informed person. There are many people in the communities, many in this room, that spend a lot of time reviewing these documentation. But I think that, as Mr. Simpson said, this room would be teeming over if the layperson read this information and understood what was being proposed here today and what's not going to be happening, thanks in part by DEP. If it was written more in layperson's language, something that they could read and understand, I think that's something that needs to happen here before any further decisions are being made. Thank you very much.
Mr. Pratt, are you ready, or? Mr. Pratt, are you ready, or shall we wait one more turn? You're good? Okay. If you want to, you can speak from back there. Those are all the folks that signed up. Is there anyone else that would like to provide testimony today for DELCORA? Okay.
Zulene, Z-U-L-E-N-E, Mayfield, M-A-Y-F-I-E-L-D, representing Chester residents concerned for quality living. This is more to the DEP lack of process. We were giving approximately about 6 weeks notice for these particular hearings. For all of the years that I have been participating in these hearings, DEP's process is getting progressively worse. Many people are not aware, but because of the actions of Chester residents concerned for quality living and named plaintiffs, me being one of them, we sued the DEP in 1995. And the lawsuit that we brought against them said that their permitting process had a discriminatory effect on the residents of the city of Chester. As a result of that lawsuit, DEP created the Office of Environmental Justice. The sole purpose of the Office of Environmental Justice is to create language information. We are supposed to have enhanced education, enhanced outreach, and enhanced enforcement. None of those things have happened. In fact, we find this to be a very racist type of process. You set a date for a hearing and have done zero efforts in educating this community. The flyers and things that you put out are minimal. They don't reach the community. There are other things that the Office of Environmental Justice and the Department of Environmental Protection Agency are supposed to be doing. To have 2 hearings on one night is absolutely outrageous. It's outrageous. There's been no community meeting where the polluter comes and tells the community what they're going to do. For the last 3 or 4 years, we've met with the Office of Environmental Justice directly and told them the things that we need to happen in this community. One is enhanced enforcement. It is not happening. Enhanced communication. I thank you for being a part and coming on Circle's meetings, but it's not an effort of the Department of Environmental Protection Agency. There is some bureaucracy in that agency that is racist towards this community and towards Circle itself. As a result, we could have filled this room. Circle has done it, we've done it many times. Here, Marcus Hook Trainer, wherever we've had to go, we've taken up the mantle and we've gotten the word out, we've done the legwork, and we will no longer do it anymore. It seems that the DEP or none of the polluters, DELCORA, none of them, they're not going to do anything that you all don't require them to do. And it appears that DEP is not going to do anything unless we bring litigation against you all. And that is what is necessary. We will not come and be a check mark on an application for you all. Did you have community input? Check. You had a hearing. Was the public given the information they needed to draw a good judgment? Absolutely not. It did not come from, generally it comes from Circle. It has not come from the DEP. So these hearings are a sham. You're going to issue the permit anyway. You're not going to follow any of the guidelines that we've requested from you. They are poisoning us. They are killing us. It is environmental genocide. And it's done with the permission of the Department of Environmental Pollution. And I'm putting it on record. We will start litigating you all because this is not going to work. It's not working for my community. And it's a sham. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes today's public hearing for the RACT 3 Significant Operating Permit Modification Application for DELCORA, Title 5 Operating Permit 20. Wait, before I continue, are there any folks who would like to provide testimony?
Just could you provide us with the timeline from this point forward and what other opportunities there may or may not be for public comment?
For a public hearing, DEP is not allowed to provide a response during the hearing. This concludes today's public hearing for the RACT 3 Significant Operating Permit Modification Application for DELCORA, Title 5 Operating Permit 23-00038. The time is 6:42. There are no more commenters. As a reminder, written testimony must be submitted no later than 11:59 p.m. of December 12th, 2025. Submissions may be made in writing to Jillian Gallagher, Environmental Program Manager, Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, Southeast Regional Office at 2 East Main Street, Norristown, PA, zip code 19401, or electronically at ra-epseroaqpubcom@pa.gov. Each submission must contain the name, address, and telephone number of the person submitting the comments, identification of the permit condition numbers, and a concise statement regarding the relevancy of the information or objections to issuance of the proposed permit. You can also find this information on the table outside. Thank you for your time this evening, and safe travels home. So we will start PQ's public hearing in a little bit over 5 minutes, just a few minutes before 7 o'clock. Thank you.
they not one of those keep playing in my face. Them, that one, no, no. Come over here playing in my face. I'm supposed to be on vacation. Damn it. For real. Wherever I want to be. So nothing. I've heard from her since last week. She's saying this vacation is
All right, well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Chester City Hall. My name's Justin Tibbles. I'm Special Assistant to Mayor Roots. I missed the first hearing, the beginning of it, because I was downstairs on the desk. So glad to be up here. Mayor Roots is currently out of town. Otherwise, he would be here tonight. And I basically just wanted to welcome you guys here and thank you for, taking the time to come out on a cold, rainy evening to be a part of this hearing. And when the DEP asked if we would be able to host this hearing, I think our immediate answer was yes, because Mayor Roots and this administration, we care a lot about the environment, and we also care a lot about having the public, residents, be engaged with what's going on here in the city. And so we want to make that as easily accessible to the public as possible just by hosting things like this hearing. We recently also hosted a hearing on the LNG project that a lot of people came out to as well. So when opportunities like this come up, we're going to say yes and host them and make sure that we are doing our part to advertise and invite the community to come out and be a part of these conversations. So again, welcome, thank you, and now I'll turn it over to Dong Yoon for the hearing.
Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection's public hearing. Thank you all for coming. My name is Dong-Yoon Kim. I'm the Southeast Regional Coordinator for the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection's Office of Environmental Justice. I work in the Southeast Regional Office in Norristown. Please take a moment to silence your phones. The restrooms are located downstairs. Thank you. City of Chester for hosting us at Chester City Hall. Special thanks to Mr. Justin Tibbles. I believe the permit applicant isn't here. Do we have any elected officials present? I want to thank you all for coming today. I would like to introduce the DEP team, Robin Briggs, our regional communications specialist outside. Lisa Strobridge, our local government liaison right over there. Jillian Gallagher, the air quality program manager. Janine Tulloch-Reed, environmental engineering manager. And myself, Dong-Yoon Kim, Southeast Region Environmental Justice Coordinator. Reasonably available control technology, or RACT, is a standard under the U.S. Clean Air Act that addresses existing facilities located in a region which exceeds the limits for air quality standards. The facilities should reduce emissions to the prescribed limitations considering the technology available and the cost of using those controls. The U.S. Clean Air Act requires each state to reevaluate its RACT requirements each time the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, revises or sets a new National Ambient Air Quality Standards, or NAAQS. If a facility proposes to comply with the RACT 3 regulation with a case-by-case RACT determination, a public hearing is required as part of the RACT 3 proposal to EPA and revision to the Commonwealth State Implementation Plan, or SIP. When establishing RACT requirements, DEP must consider the technology available and the cost of using these controls. DEP will not require facilities to use control technology that are too costly or not technically practical. It is time to begin the formal public hearing to obtain public comments regarding PQ LLC, or PQ. PQ owns and operates a sodium silicate production facility. The emission sources at PQ include a sodium silicate furnace, 2 boilers, spray dryer with scrubber, and an emergency generator. PQ is proposing a significant operating permit modification application of Title V Operating Permit 23-00016 to address RACT 3 for operations located in Chester, Delaware County. The proposed RACT 3 changes to Title V Operating Permit 23-0016 are generally administrative and include the addition of a emission limit and monitoring and record requirements during PQ's non-operating idling days. The Title V operating permit already has requirements for operating days. There are no new sources for air pollution controls or proposed emissions increases. In addition to meeting the regulations of public notice, the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, DEP, provided a community information webpage, plain language summary, a flyer, and shared the public participation opportunity for the public hearing to the general public. Members of the public can provide the oral testimony today and may also submit written testimony no later than December 12, 2025 to DEP via email at ra-epseroaqpubcom@pa.gov or postal mail. DEP gives equal consideration to all public comments, regardless of whether a comment is received verbally today or in writing prior to the deadline. Please note that our purpose here today is to listen to your comments and gather your input that may be useful during our review process. DEP staff does not directly answer questions or respond to individual comments during this official proceeding. All formal testimony given today or provided in writing by the deadline will be addressed in writing by DEP in what is called a comment and response document. As a reminder, please turn off cell phones or put them on vibrate. Please speak loudly and clearly so everyone can hear you, including the electronic voice recording system. I will first call upon the witnesses who have pre-registered to testify at this hearing. After hearing from these witnesses, I will provide any other interested parties with the opportunity to testify. Testimony is limited to 5 minutes for each witness. Please note that written and spoken testimony both carry the same weight. If you should run out of time for your spoken testimony, we will read the rest of your comments in your written testimony. Each witness is asked to submit 2 written copies of his or her testimony to aid in transcribing the hearing. Please hand 1 copy to me and 1 copy to the stenographer prior to presenting your testimony. Please state your name and affiliation if you have one for the record prior to presenting your testimony. We would appreciate your help by spelling names and terms that may not be generally familiar so that the transcript can be as accurate as possible. The purpose of a hearing is to listen and receive comments regarding PQ's proposed RACT 3 Significant Operating Permit Modification Application, Title V Operating Permit 23-00016. All relevant comments can be considered in the DEP's review RACT 3 Significant Operating Permit Modification Application for PQ, Title V Operating Permit. Lauren, Ms. Minsky.
My name is Lauren, L-A-U-R-E-N, Minsky, M-I-N-S-K-Y. I'm a resident of Delaware County, a parent of 2 children, and I teach in the Health Studies program at Haverford College, although I represent myself as an individual and not my employer. I wanted to ask some questions about the pollution that's being discharged by the PQ chemical plant. We know this is a plant that produces silica. It's mixing silica sands with acid at high heat to produce sodium silica. But we know that its reported water pollution discharges into the Delaware River are at very high levels and are carcinogenic. This year in 2025, PQ reported discharges of polychlorinated biphenyls, or PCBs, which are known carcinogens that have significant VOC, volatile organic chemical components, at a concentration of up to 548,000 picograms per liter. And the 2013 Delaware River Basin established water quality standard concentration is 16 picograms per liter for PCBs in the Delaware estuary. So PQ's discharge for this year is 34,250 times the acceptable water quality standard. And I think this raises some questions about how its existing pollution controls are functioning and working, and whether or not they qualify as reasonable, and whether or not it's reasonable to claim that it's too costly to improve them to ensure that they are meeting the current environmental standards. So that's the water, and this is focused on, this permit is focused on air quality. But if that's what's going on with the water, I guess my question is, what are you doing to monitor the air emissions? The permit document focuses a lot on nitrogen oxides, which are, of course, a significant pollution. But PCBs, again, are clearly being produced at very high quantities as part of the chemical reactions that are happening in that plant. And these are semi-volatile, and parts of them are volatile, meaning that they're going to go into the air. And what is the DEP doing to monitor the VOCs that are being released from this facility? We know that the air quality in Chester and southeastern Delaware County is among the worst in the country, and it's a non-attainment with the Clean Air Act. But importantly, too, the study that was published by researchers at Johns Hopkins just this spring, 2025, documented with their laboratory equipment van over 30 different VOCs in the air, and that included the Delaware riverfront strip where the PQ plant is located. So we know they're generating a lot of PCPs. We know that VOCs are part of those PCPs. What is the DEP doing to monitor and quantify what those emissions actually look like, and whether the existing controls are indeed reasonable in terms of protecting the health of the community? And this is really important because VOCs as PCBs are known carcinogens. That's not up for debate. We also know that Chester lies at the epicenter of one of the most prominent environmental justice regions. The health of its population suffers due to the extraordinarily heavy burden of pollution. And again, this is cumulative impacts coming not just from PQ, but from Evonik right next door, from Boeing, from the Kimberly-Clark plant, and that's just in that one area. Moving south, of course, we have the incinerator, we have the DELCORA plant, and we have Monroe Energy and the Marcus Hook incinerator. It's like, my cancer statistics are coming. I'm hurrying. And I would just say that, again, doing research on the average annual accrued cancer incidence rates, this is for adults age 20 and over, in this community, we have a 79% higher than the Pennsylvania average for liver and bile cancer, 71% higher for laryngeal cancer, 40% higher for Hodgkin's lymphoma, and 30% higher for lung and bronchial cancer. And that's taking the whole strip of the Delaware riverfront from Tinicum to Eddystone to Chester and Traynor and Marcus Hook. So these numbers are quite robust from a statistical standpoint. Among children, the incidence rates for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, kidney and renal cancer, and liver and bile cancer are between 24% higher and 136% higher than the comparable rate for Pennsylvania children. So I would say clearly there's an issue with the implementation of quote unquote reasonable pollution control. What is a reasonable cost for a company that's making profits for to bear and to pay in order to protect the citizens in the community around it and people who work in it and that make this community what it is? I would argue that the evidence very strongly shows that what's happening is not acceptable, and that this proposed plan with no change is going to just continue to harm the community, including costing people their lives from cancer. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Alyssa.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Elisa Felix, and I'm here tonight on behalf of Clean Air Council. The council is a nonprofit environmental organization that has been working to protect everyone's right to a healthy environment for over 50 years. Clean Air Council has 5,000 members, including residents here in Chester. PQ operates a chemical manufacturing plant on the Delaware River in Chester, Pennsylvania, alongside several other chemical manufacturing facilities. PQ mixes silica sand with acids and heat to produce sodium silica. When furnaces are not producing silica products, PQ continues to heat them to ensure that the products in the furnaces remain in a liquid state. This process can lead to the release of volatile organic compounds or VOCs into the air. The council is deeply concerned that PQ is not monitoring or controlling VOC pollution at its facility. Although PQ and DEP claim that the facility's VOC air pollution is low, neither PQ nor DEP use any air monitoring technology to monitor for VOCs around this facility. So we actually don't know the degree to which toxic chemicals are being released into the local community. In 2021, the council partnered with researchers from Johns Hopkins University to take air samples in and around the city of Chester. The Johns Hopkins Aerodyne van detected plumes of VOCs in the vicinity of PQ and 2 other chemical manufacturers in Chester. VOCs can cause a myriad of public health harms, exacerbating asthma and other lung conditions, and impacting every system of the human body from cardiovascular and respiratory to skin, reproductive, and neurological. Some VOCs are carcinogenic. The City of Chester is a state-designated environmental justice area, and the Clean Air Council strongly advocates for DEP to use the best available control technologies to ensure that the surrounding community is protected from toxic air emissions. The council urges DEP to use air monitoring technology like gas chromatography and mass spectrometry to measure VOC air pollution from PQ's facility. The council is also concerned that PQ's reported water pollution discharges into the Delaware River contain extremely high levels of polychlorinated biphenyls, which volatilize in air and are known to include several VOCs. In 2025, PQ reported water discharges with up to 548,000 picograms per liter of PCBs. In 2013, the Delaware River Basin established a 16 picogram per liter water quality standard for PCBs in the Delaware estuary for the protection of human health from carcinogenic effects. Something is clearly creating immense levels of PCBs in PQ's chemical reactions. Manufacturing processes generating wastewater this polluted could easily generate high air pollution levels, including significant VOC pollution that contributes to ground level ozone formation and can include air toxics. Without using available air monitoring technology, DEP has no evidence that PQ VOC emissions are below major source thresholds and are being adequately controlled. The council urges DEP to utilize stationary VOC and air toxic monitors to ensure that the cumulative impact of PQ and the other 2 chemical facilities are not creating dangerous local levels of VOC pollution, including carcinogens like PCBs. Clean Air Council urges DEP and PQ to take every measure possible to protect residents of Chester and surrounding EJ communities, to use the best air monitoring technology and the best available control technology to detect and reduce VOCs at this facility. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next, we have Mr. Simpson.
Good evening again, everybody. My name's Seifudin Simpson, spelled Seifuddin, middle initial M, middle initial A, last name Simpson, Simpson. My address is 1030 Potter Street, Chester, Pennsylvania. I'm here to testify because I'm completely amazed at the fact that this company is a part of this meeting. I've been living in Chester off and on since 1978. And 2 weeks ago was the first time I ever heard of the company called PQ. So you're looking at almost 50 years. and I never heard of this company. All right. How did I hear about the company? I was coming across the Commodore Barry Bridge, and the guy that was sitting in my passenger seat said, "You see that smoke coming up over there?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "That's where my brother works." I said, "Well, what is that?" He said, "That's PQ." He said, "My brother been working down there probably almost 30 years. I said, "Oh, okay." 2 days ago, the city of Chester, through the Chester Connect thing, sent me a text or email, popped up on my phone. DEP meeting for PQ? I was like, I think that's the place that I just seen all the smoke coming out. So I started reading it and looking at it, seeing about the fines, about the pollution and all that kind of stuff. And I thought it was very, very interesting. So I'm looking forward to trying to speak to some of the people down there that work there, that live around there, and I want to know if they're the walking dead. I want to know if their eyes are green, if their hair is red. I want to know if these chemicals are eating them up, because I believe, from what I've read, there's a problem going on down there. But apparently, some of the people that may be living there or working there have satisfied themselves falsely by taking on some form of income or taking on some form of gratification or incentive, because I don't believe that it is proper for anybody to be exposed to chemicals and not be aware of what those chemicals are doing to their body or literally to their mind. So I'm actually wondering whether those chemicals are affecting the minds of the children, the minds of the elderly, I'm a veteran, the minds of the veterans, the minds of our politicians. You know, I'm concerned about everybody that lives in the city. So I'm looking forward to finding out as much as I can find out about that company, and whether it comes from the company, other citizens, just let me know. My email is just like my name, SEIFUDDIN.Simpson, SIMPSON, @gmail.com. If you have any information on that company, please send it to me. And if there's anything that I can do on behalf of the citizens, the children, our senior citizens, our veterans, our concerned citizens in Chester, and bring it to the attention of the DEPA, environmental justice, President Trump, whoever, Governor Shapiro, let me know, because I don't have nothing else to do, because I'm retired. So I can't, you know what I mean? I'm like 69 years old. I'm on Social Security. I don't have nothing else to do but to drive up to Harrisburg, to the Capitol, and put it on somebody's desk. So I'm concerned about this stuff, and I want people to realize that I'm sincere about it, and I want to get other people that are sincere about it to contact me and let me know what I need to do to help us. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next, we have Mr. Greg Navarro. Okay. Next, we have Mr. BP Lyles.
Good evening, everybody. I am BP Lyles, B. Preston Lyles. I'm a Philadelphia resident, let me make that clear. But I work with DELCORA Environmental Justice, a small nonprofit that functions out here. I'm also the director of the Toxic Prisons Campaign, so we work all across the state. So with my work, I work with a lot of different groups in different places against things like incineration or the toxic industry. As a Philadelphian, however, let me also make it clear that there are many of us in Philly that understands the importance of partnership, which is working together with our neighbors, with our friends, even those who make themselves our enemies. The important objective here is to speak, to share, and to help everyone understand the value of strengthening our call to action and of making a difference by partnership, working together. So I'll give my formal statement, and then I do have a real concern. that I want to add to this. So like DELCORA, PQ is among the larger industrial polluters in Chester and is second only to ReWorld in environmental violations in the city. In 2021, Johns Hopkins University used a mobile air testing van to test for toluene and formaldehyde, two volatile organic compounds released by industries in the area. Their study found a plume of high levels of toluene and formaldehyde in the neighborhood directly downwind of PQ and Evonik's facilities. Curiously, the emissions data for these facilities shows rather low levels of these pollutants compared to other industries along the Delco waterfront. This gives us good reason to think that PQ could be vastly underestimating their emissions of these chemicals when reporting them to PADEP and the EPA emissions databases. And our public comments will include the maps and data comparisons to nearby industries so you can see how much of a discrepancy there is between low reporting of emissions and the plume of these chemicals found in the neighborhood near the plant. While the DEP proposals lets PQ off the hook for volatile organic compounds, claiming that the plant is unable to emit more than 50 tons per year, qualifying it as a minor source, we don't really know that without proper testing. We request that DEP require PQ to install continuous emissions monitors for VOCs, including specifically for toluene and formaldehyde, so that we have a complete and accurate picture of these emissions. On nitrogen oxides, like DELCORA, DEP is proposing letting them get away with doing nothing, AKA good operating practices, which they claim they're already doing. This is outrageous, considering that they're the fourth largest point source of nitrous oxide emissions in the entire county, reporting 386,900 pounds of nitrous oxide emissions in 2020, almost 4 times as much as DELCORA, which is also a large source of nitrous oxide. Please reconsider whether the financial cost to the company is more important than the much greater financial cost to the community in the form of missed school and work days from asthma attacks. The regulations don't require you to look at things from this perspective, but your obligation to protect our constitutional right to clean air do. On a personal note, I think what I have found is that DEP, as has been mentioned, seems to rubber stamp these certificates of operation. They seem to just rubber stamp them and let them go on by. And at some point, I think DEP needs to be reminded of its role and of its purpose, which is to protect the people, in this case of the state of Pennsylvania. Yes, Chester, not just Chester, the entire state of Pennsylvania. And it's imperative that DEP recognizes that they have a responsibility, they have a role, and that at some point, they're going to need to abide by its own practices and standards, which currently it certainly seems as if they do not. And so I want to make sure that that's on the record.
Thank you for your comment. Mr. Navarro isn't here. Okay. That concludes all the people that have pre-registered to sign up. Is there anyone else today that would like to provide public testimony? Going once.
All right, I'm done for today. Zalene Mayfield, Chester residents concerned for quality living. I have the same concerns. In regards to PQ Corporation, that is one company that we have not yet litigated. We've been to so many of these hearings and permit applications and meetings and presentations, and they are literally always the same. We come, we plead, we cry, we give health data, statistical information, history of violations, the times that we have had to enforce, litigate, become the inspectors, and the outcome is literally always the same. This is the Department of Environmental Permits. You just get permits that people can pollute us. So our fate is always definitely in our own hands, because the companies will not do anything unless it's under the threat or under litigation. DEP won't do anything unless it's under the threat and or litigation. But continuously we come out as a community and as citizens because we want some level of protection. And we know that the enforcement that DEP does in non-majority areas is better than the enforcement that you do here in the city of Chester. It is a known fact that the fines are increased in non-minority areas. There is increased enforcement activity in non-minority areas. That's why we sued you all. And still, after years and years and years, the level of disrespect that this community has been shown by this state agency is outrageous. And particularly the amount of disrespect that they have shown to the organization. That's the only reason for the Office of Environmental Justice. Had it not been for Circle, there would be no Office of Environmental Justice. So how dare you continually come to this community with the same old nonsense? The same bullshit. We come and we give all of the information, all the data that we know. We've hired scientists, we've hired engineers, we've hired people to look at processes, we've done resolutions and tried to pass ordinances in this very chamber. In this very chamber, we had an ordinance passed. And still, you know, like I said, the polluter has been given a year to prepare their permit application, and the community was given 6 weeks to prepare for this hearing. It is unfair. No community member is going to read 21 pages of nonsense, and we're not engineers or scientists and come out with a good conclusion, but we do our best. I can read them. I can read them. I've done it for 30-something years. But the average person has been shut out of this process by DEP. By DEP. We've told you where to put the literature. We have radio stations. We told you advertisements, yet still you persist on putting things in a PA bulletin this big with 0.8 font. Ain't nobody gonna read that. So we object to these type of hearings. We object and we will not participate. We are demanding a meeting with the Southeastern head and the Minister of the Office of Environmental Justice, and particularly those people in Norristown who have a bias towards this community and towards this organization because we sued you. It's that simple. You have a bias towards this organization. But we are still here. We are still active. We are stronger than ever. And we will no longer participate in these type of meetings. We will not. And we know it's a two-edged sword. Oh, the community doesn't care because they didn't show up for a meeting. But we do care because you didn't give us enough information to come and participate in these hearings productively. So as Circle, the head of Circle, I am making a decision. We will not be subjected to this anymore until there is some real tangible meetings that come out. We're going to ask our legislators to make sure that you're sitting at the table with us, to treat us as equal as you do the polluters. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Do you have any other folks today? This concludes today's public hearing for the RACT 3 Significant Operating Permit Modification Application for PQ, Title 5 Operating Permit 23-00016. The time is 7:34. There are no more commenters. As a reminder, written testimony must be submitted no later than 11:59 p.m. of December 12, 2025. Submissions may be made in writing to Jillian Gallagher, Environmental Program Manager, Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, at the Southeast Regional Office, 2 East Main Street, Norristown, PA, 19401, or electronically at ra-epseroaqpubcom@pa.gov. Each submission must contain the name, address, and telephone number of the persons submitting the comments, identification of the permit conditions numbers, and a concise statement regarding the relevancy of the information or objections to issuance of the proposed permit. You can also find this information on the back table. Thank you for your time this evening and safe travels home.